Biden pushes for the US Citizenship Act. It includes $4 billion to Central America to get to the root cause of illegal immigration. But will it actually work? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. If you like the show, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us with YouTube's crazy algorithms. And if you already are a subscriber, make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube has secretly unsubscribed people in the past. So, the Biden administration is in a pinch with illegal immigration from Central America. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol is rejecting most people at the border. The White House says they need time to develop a humane process. Biden has publicly told migrants not to come to the U.S. And the administration has repeatedly said this is not the time for people to come and seek asylum at the United States-Mexico border. The time for that was a few years ago, so they could blame Trump for it. Maybe those asylum seekers should just wait until the next Trump administration. No, I said the next Trump administration. That kid's tall. At any rate, people continue to illegally enter the U.S. across the southern border, despite Biden's very polite request for them to wait. And this is overwhelming the border system. According to the Secretary of Homeland Security, we are on pace to encounter more individuals on the southwest border than we have had in the last 20 years. This means more people are being detained, which is also the very thing Trump was criticized for. So the Biden administration is scrambling to shelter migrant children, so he doesn't get accused of putting kids in cages, like the Trump administration was. The kids in cages photos from both 2018 under the Trump administration and 2014 under the Obama administration were taken at border processing facilities where kids stayed for a maximum of 72 hours. Before being transferred elsewhere. But now, because of the surge at the border this year, children at those facilities are being held longer than the 3 days allowed by law, because there are just too many of them. And that's why Biden is scrambling to fix his image. He is, after all, not Trump. He's different. In fact, he's so different. He is pushing for a totally new initiative to address the border crisis. Back during the 2020 presidential campaign, Biden proposed a 4-year, $4 billion strategy for Central America, specifically in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, collectively called the Northern Triangle. That's where a lot of illegal immigrants arriving at the southern border have come from in recent years. Those countries are overrun by corrupt governments and drug cartels. Biden has included this $4 billion plan in a much larger bill called the US Citizenship Act of 2021. That bill would create an 8-year pathway to citizenship for nearly 11 million illegal immigrants living in the US. But also, it has a section that aims to address key factors driving the flight of families, unaccompanied children, and other individuals from Central America to the US. That includes a plan to address the underlying causes of poverty and inequality in those countries. And that seems doable. I mean, granted, we have poverty and inequality in this country too. But the U.S. government is so good at foreign intervention in Central America that I'm sure it'll be no problem to fix the issues there first. In a report specifically addressing forced displacement, the Center for American Progress, a left-leaning think tank, says that addressing the root causes of migration requires more than just giving humanitarian aid. Humanitarian aid addresses only the symptoms and not the root causes that led to displacement. That's why the U.S. needs to invest in things like conflict prevention programs, agricultural and famine prevention tools, and investments in diplomacy and development. I'll tell you how Biden plans to implement diplomacy and development after the break. Welcome back. In a White House press briefing, Roberta Jacobson, Biden's senior official for the southern border, explained that the $4 billion will address the root causes of migration. It will deal with corruption, violence, and economic devastation exacerbated by climate change. Only by addressing those root causes can we break the cycle of desperation and incentivize families to stay in their home countries rather than move to America. All this is done by improving governance, providing economic opportunity, and strengthening security and the rule of law. Now, when I said earlier this was a totally new initiative, what I meant was that it's a totally new name for an old initiative that Biden endorsed when he was vice president to Barack Obama. That old initiative was a $1 billion program called the Alliance for Prosperity. It targeted security, government, and development issues to address the root causes of migration and assist asylum seekers. It aimed to improve these problems in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Sound familiar? Unfortunately, it failed to actually stem migration. In fact, political and economic conditions in those countries got worse. Some say the Alliance for Prosperity even worsened human rights violations. Near the end of the Obama administration, between October 2015 and January 2016, there was actually a massive increase in illegal immigrants from Central America, apprehended at the US-Mexico border. But that hasn't stopped Biden from blaming Trump for the Alliance for Prosperity's failure. He said the efforts were beginning to deliver results and reduce migration rates until Trump froze the majority of the funding and began a campaign to terrorize immigrants and assault the dignity of the Latino community. And here I thought Trump loved Hispanics. Two DC-based think tanks, the Brookings Institution and the Wilson Center, say the main problem in those Central American countries is not a lack of funding, it's poor governance, aka corruption. The Wilson Center did a study on U.S. foreign aid to the region between 2014 to 2019. And found there was a lack of a clear vision. In fact, this lack of vision had aid implementers focus more on the number of meetings held and the number of people trained rather than actual positive change as a measure of success. That's like if Shelley and I had a daily Zoom call about ways to get more subscribers on YouTube and patted ourselves on the back for it, instead of actually using that time to make more videos. The Wilson Center's research also found there were several complaints about the assistance from U.S. officials, experts, and beneficiaries. One common complaint was about the United States Agency for International Development. There was a big administrative burden just to meet their oversight requirements. Another frequent criticism was the reliance on U.S.-based contractors to carry out aid programs, instead of working with local organizations in the target countries. That contractor model meant significant portions of U.S. assistance remained in the United States rather than reaching intended beneficiaries. So given that Biden's totally new initiative is pretty much an Alliance for Prosperity 2.0, what makes us think that we can do better this time? I'll get to that after the break. Welcome back. So what makes Biden think he can do better with his new initiative, the so-called Alliance for Prosperity 2.0? The answer is quadruple the money. But Biden's senior official for Southern Border Affairs, Roberta Jacobson, said the $4 billion provided by the US Citizenship Act of 2021 will be subject to strict but untested conditions on recipients based on measures of anti-corruption efforts and good governance. In the White House press briefing I mentioned earlier, she emphasized that the funds won't go to government leaders, but to communities for training and violence prevention. This comes after lawmakers wanted to place limits on the U.S. aid, saying U.S. assistance can end up empowering corrupt regimes. Members of Congress and several of Biden's advisors said it has been a mistake to pump money into countries that have misused and squandered U.S. aid, with very little to show for it. Even Jacobson said that Biden learned things. At least now, Biden officials know to not take Central American leaders at their word. Yeah, who would have thought the corrupt regimes people are fleeing from can't be trusted? According to the former president of Costa Rica, another problem that many U.S. agencies face is it's really hard to measure the impact of U.S.-funded programs in the Northern Triangle. And the resources designated to implement the programs have often not even been used. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, for instance, allocated around $407 million to Central America between 2013 and 2018, but only $249 million of it was dispersed. At the end of 2018, some $159 million remain unused. Now the Biden administration is confident they know how to get that money into the right communities. In an attempt to do just that, the Biden administration is setting up anti-corruption requirements. But those requirements aren't for the public to know about. Biden first wants to talk with the governments of those countries, the corrupt governments of those countries. Is Biden doing the right thing by pushing for this initiative? The Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, thinks not. It claims the bill Biden is pushing will provide 50% of the $4 billion package without conditions. The remaining 50% would be given after the Secretary of State certifies that each country receiving the aid takes steps to combat corruption and make reforms. So that's still $2 billion given without any conditions. That's double the entire budget of Obama's $1 billion Alliance for Prosperity. You know, the program that failed. There are a lot of unanswered questions about how to make sure the money actually reduces illegal immigration. But Biden probably has some immediate matters to attend to. Like, how do you deal with massively overcrowded conditions for children at the border that are happening right now? So what do you think? Do you think giving $4 billion to Central America will work this time? How should we get to the root of our illegal immigration problems? Leave your comments below. And remember, America Uncovered is supported mainly by viewers. So visit patreon.com/America Uncovered. Contribute $1 or more per episode. We rely on your support to help us keep making great episodes. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.